Okay, we're gonna recess until 11
Wait,
and
it says we're live.
until the solved.
Can anybody hear? Now you need to see if anyone can hear us because the green sound icon's still not moving.
Warren, is anybody hearing anything?
We're gonna have to wait.
They are. So
we are live with audio.
Okay, so someone hit the function F4 key on the computer, which muted it.
function F4.
There's a little light on that.
Okay.
It's a hardware.
We'll try that first next time. All right, we're back to being live here, hopefully with sound. Apologize for the delay. There was a little technical problem with the YouTube setup. We have so far rejected 15 ballots for being late, postmarked after Election Day, and 7 ballots for being completely unsigned. And we also noted that we all had 8 other unsigned ballots that were cured. We got good signatures before today. Let's go on. What's next?
Next is signature no match. The signature doesn't match, we call it no match. I'm trying to figure out another way to get you guys to see. I'm gonna hold this one. Hold one for explanation. So we have 23 where the signature does not match. It doesn't mean that it's not their signature. It just means that it doesn't match the signature we have in their voter registration. We did do why your signature matters in the voters pamphlet to bring that to the voters' attention. And like I said, with each one of these, they've received a letter, a phone call, and again, as a best practice, for the ones where we don't receive a response, we will follow up with them again with another letter to get, an updated signature on file for future.
Mylene, we had 9 of these come back to George.
Great.
And we could have more in the mail today.
And the voters still have till 4:30 today to return their care letters for their ballots to count.
Wow. That is
Tiebreaker?
not
Yes.
long. I talked to this child. I know her. These children were growing up.
We also, I believe, put out a press release, Kim, before the election, just to let people know they could update their signature. And I did have several people come in and fill out signature update forms.
That's great. That's great.
Ahead of the election happening,
The
so
more
that
we can reach, the better.
we could get those people updated.
When they print in one place and cursive in the other, it's really hard to match.
Yeah, Kara forgot to write his last name, which is causing all the confusion.
Audio was on.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Audio was on.
Good, thank you. seem harder than the ones in the classes.
Harder than the ones that they teach you with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
even though there's quite a variation. in the-
I know, they show you the angles, they show you the letters, they pick out ones that are very easy. Microsoft Project Loss.
I don't know that that's.
Mm.
No, well, I will relook at it at the end, I suspect.
Certainly, we have 3 signatures and that's that.
That they're either added from Department of Licensing and they were pulled in 3 times.
Is that, well, I don't think there's any difference at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Penny,
Yes.
I'm going so slow.
Oh, no, don't rush, don't rush, we want to do it right, not fast. Been doing this for longer than you have.
I appreciate that.
Sometimes you think, well, it might be, but that just, that is so much not the way they sign their.
I know.
And we take into consideration that they're, signing with a stylus on, an electronic pad and, things like that. But there's always something, unique about a signature that will always match.
Maybe the ones that match, usually when I first look at it,
Mhm.
I can see it.
I do agree.
Sometimes I can't.
The glasses come off as serious.
Absolutely, I see better up close without my glasses. than with. That's a signature?
Yeah,
That's,
I noted his age on there too.
What?
I noted his age.
Or-
That's sorry, I didn't even notice the name.
Your age get noted on your ballot.
Did what?
Your
Sometimes-
age gets noted on your ballot, we're older too.
Sometimes people, particularly after a stroke or something.
Yeah.
So they look for the common elements, and says, this is the same person. And you should try to get it up to the signature.
There is they do have letters, so. We do have a lot of voters that will call us and say, that this has happened, and we do note their file to, have that,
I just got
yeah,
a birthday.
have that information.
Sensitive.
Sensitive, yeah. Okay. So we have one more, let's wait for that finish. You're supposed to be doing it. Okay, so quick and easy. So- Signatures are quick and easy. No, the whole interaction with the video and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Looks like we're accepting a fair number.
Far more than last year. In my, experience, limited experience.
Could be something newer, 18.
No, I don't have to say this.
Okay, one last one with the signature, doesn't match. The only thing we just want to bring up here is, the, husband and wife, their ballots came in at the same time. And, this is a copy of both their ballots and their signatures, and this is a copy of their signatures that we have on file. So here is, Mrs. signature. This is how it was signed, and here is his signature, so they're. I just feel like there's a possibility that someone else may have signed for somebody else.
Well, we don't have his ballot though.
This is his ballot right here.
Well, but his ballot.
This is a,
This
his
is a copy of
signature
his.
is fine. His signature
ballot
was
was
accepted,
Okay.
so it was accepted. We just, made a copy to show,
You think he signed hers?
and I don't know if you wanna just, address it to the voter or. And she did receive a letter that, the signature didn't match, and, I'm sure. Did you call them?
If they had a phone number, yes.
Okay, let's note it on that tab that we,
I mean, what's this
Call
the
the
signature?
right so I've been doing that so I can,
He's a junior. Okay, so that is. the way he writes his last name. That's identical. Okay, I see the point. Yeah.
I just want to bring it to your attention to say, hey. And do we want to do anything more,
Well,
with
that's
the
the
voter?
prosecutor's choice.
Yeah. And that's a copy of their signatures that we have on file.
Thank you, that's what I was just looking for.
Okay, just a copy of this.
Yeah, just a copy of the ballots. Just to put them, the two, signatures together on the same page, so it's visible.
They're actually waxed for when what to do when spouses sign each other's ballots, which
Mhm.
happens pretty
Mhm.
frequently.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you just set them aside. And this is, John actually writes, John so-and-so
Mhm.
on Mary's ballot. It happens. And then we set it aside and wait for Mary's ballot. John's ballot to come in, which Mary invariably signed. There's a law that allows for that.
Gotcha.
But when one of them signs the others, that's
I
not.
think this was signed by Joe Kosler.
Mhm.
Is that what you concluded?
That's
Yeah.
what it looks like,
Oh, yeah. He even wrote his email down.
Mhm.
yes. Well, not necessarily, some family, you can't tell an email. Some families only use one email.
It's
So his-
evidence.
Her
It's
email could
evidence.
be his.
It's evidence.
How many ballots do we have, accepted and rejected?
Do you want to pursue that, Randy?
No, we just wanted to, you go send a letter.
Okay, because it is voter fraud.
And we start by sending letters.
So do you want to send a letter? You want me to send a letter?
I think the practice has been that a letter comes from this office, right?
We have done that.
14 accepted.
The letter should go to Joe Kozler.
To both of them. Remind me to do that.
Gotcha. So we
Okay.
have 9 accepted ballots and 14 rejected. So with the rejected ballots, 7 of no signature, 14 of where the signature doesn't match. The voter still has till 4:30 today to return their cure letter.
Right.
So this number will change from today to tomorrow. May change, yes. And there were no ballots challenged for to send to the canvassing board. 2 measures. They checked all the right boxes. There was no questions. They all made their corrections appropriately. So 0 ballots to view. And then that concludes that part for the challenge ballots. And I just need you to sign that this is what we've included for today. Because there's a law on that one too. Okay. And then moving on to the administrative rules for ballot measures. Want to explain this one? Pass that around, sorry. I have the PDF.
We publish a booklet, brochure every year to help people who write arguments for measures. And an issue which came up this year, and I don't think has come up here in the past, was a person who is a registered voter in the state, right?
Mhm.
But does not live anywhere in San Juan County. But just likes to write arguments against school measures. I believe he's in Snohomish County. Offered to write the argument against. Since this hadn't come up before, somebody outside of our county completely, we reached out to other counties, and many, if not most, have administrative rules that says that a person must live or own property in San Juan County. The owned property is because if someone is writing about a property tax measure, then they have a right to have an opinion about it,
Even if they don't vote.
even if they don't vote. So we would like to make that a requirement here because we find that people who live outside the county don't have the credibility with the community that people who have a reason to be concerned about what happens here. So that is a proposed change, and where is the language?
It's the second paragraph on the left-hand side under
Committee members must be a resident of San Juan County or property owner of San Juan
In San Juan County?
County. Yeah, we changed that to our own property in San Juan County. So that is a proposed change, which, would you guys like to discuss it?
No discussion necessary for me.
I think it's a good proposal.
All right, anybody want to make a motion then?
I move to change the wording in the
What is it called? Administrative rules.
administrative rules to state that committee members must be a resident of San Juan County or own property in San Juan County.
Second?
All those in favor?
I
Unanimous. Make that change.
That'll make the districts very happy. And the voters too.
Yeah.
Okay, and then moving on to our canvassing board rules. basically the canvassing board, rules consist of WACs and RCWs, that are, implemented by the state, and we have adopted these rules. We've also added our own rules locally for what the canvassing board does, what the elections office does. So there's been some WACs, each year that were updated. So this is an ongoing thing where the rules are updated to reflect the changes in the WACs. And we'll start off with, let's see, which page do you have first? Yeah, the official county
Yeah, page
council.
37.
Okay, 37, the first two pages is the new WAC, and there's a copy of what was in the canvassing manual already. Now, this WAC 434-262-070, basically, when we do the reconciliation report and we certify the election.
Which, what?
Goes on to the second page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I was looking at
Basically,
here.
this WAC just says, for the reconciliation report and certification that we send our reports to the state. The modified WAC, we only had to do this for the primary or the general where a state office was involved. The revised WAC is for every election, all the specials, the primary, the general, that we send our certification, our reconciliation, and everything to the state. So basically just line number 4 of the WAC, the official county canvass report for every primary and election must be submitted to the Secretary of State on the day the election was certified. So just,
That used to be just primary in general.
yeah, it used to be the report of election, state primaries and general elections.
Okay.
So just a minor little change there.
Thank you.
The next one is rejection of ballots
Page 17.
or parts of ballots, page 17. And on here, there's
Page 17.
I have my highlight.
Yeah, it was underneath 35 and 36 for us.
Okay, I'm at 17, okay.
Let's see. On part A, where a voter has already voted one ballot, has been removed from the RCW, and this reflects same-day registration where a ballot is reissued. They've voted the first ballot, they changed their address, we have issued them another ballot that reflects the current precinct that they're living in. When we receive the first ballot, we hold it and wait for the new ballot. So, or the reissue ballot. So at this point, they're technically voting 2 ballots. But only one ballot is accepted, and that is the reissue ballot. In this election, we had 3 ballots that were received. The voter did not vote on the reissue ballot, so in that case, those 3 ballots get duplicated onto the correct precinct ballot, and there's nothing for the canvassing board to do to inform them. So basically, where a voter has already voted one
Are these
ballot.
elections the entire island?
What's that?
Are both of these elections the whole island?
Yes. What it is?
So why would it matter if they moved from one precinct to another on San Juan Island?
Precinct report.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, because they're voting in a different
so
precinct.
the canvassing board is not going to reject a ballot where voters already voted. Is that because it's already been rejected before it gets to the
Yeah,
canvassing
it's
board?
already, yeah.
Because there are now procedures where, there are cases where a voter might vote 2 ballots, but they will never reach the canvassing board because there are reasons for it. Okay.
And then also removed is where the voter has an overvote. If the voter overvotes when the ballot is processed, the overvote cancels the votes out. So that's just part of ballot processing. And where the voter transferred out of county. When a voter transfers out of county, their first ballot does not get rejected. It gets forwarded to the other county the voter is now registered in. That ballot then gets duplicated onto the new precinct that the voter is in. We
If
did
there are
have
any common measures, then their votes on those measures would be transferred.
one ballot from another county, and basically that ballot is duplicated onto a ballot. Obviously, there's nothing in this county that was on this county, but the voter still receives credit. We still need a ballot for the voter,
You still get credit for voting, even though they.
Yep.
Wow.
because they voted.
Okay.
So basically, they get a ballot, it's blank, there's nothing to transfer onto it.
So we're not gonna see ballots from a prior election anymore.
No, we shouldn't.
Well, we used to review those and reject them.
Yes,
So this is actual change of what has to go to the canvassing board and what can be handled by election staff.
so I mean, this is in our canvassing board manual, and these are just things that come up.
Wow.
So where a ballot was created for a prior election,
So we could see a ballot for the wrong election because we don't know that until the ballot's open.
yeah, and at that point,
Yeah, if it's in the right envelope.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
if they signed a declaration for that election, that ballot would then get duplicated onto the right ballot, basically, so a ballot would be counted. But obviously, the previous election, there's nothing on this election to duplicate to.
What's the WAC number they got? 'Cause we don't
I
have a
think
second
I'm missing
page.
that part.
031, you have it.
On.
434-262-031.
It's 434-262-031.
And this is identical to that. The numbering is slightly different, but the content is the same.
Copy of the second page.
Where did you see that number?
It's on the next page, page 20.
Oh, I don't have page. 17 isn't the next page from.
17 is the old one. You gotta go to the next page, that's the new version. And then that's 19, and on top of page 20, you have the reference to the WAC,
I see.
the new WAC.
You should have been a better one.
Date and work point.
Okay. All right, so.
And I'm also giving you
We're
the
changing
old
the
and the new,
canvassing
so.
board to update WACs. WACs have already been adopted.
So when you have my highlighted one, which was missing up there.
So lucky me, everybody has a highlighted one though.
Yeah, that me. Okay, and then moving on. No, that's, we just went over that one. Okay, moving on to page 12, preparing the logic and accuracy test. This is going to be fun.
Painful.
So, previously when we prepared the matrix for the LNA test, every contest receives a vote for each candidate in the contest. And for the overall ballot, if there's a write-in, there's a vote for one write-in. There is also a vote for an overvote. And this basically tests the system that it's picking up the target area for the write-in, that it's picking up overvotes.
So they had to do one write-in on any race, one overvote on any race.
So now, someone has decided that we need to do a write-in for every race that has a write-in, and we need to do an overvote for every race on the ballot. So during the,
Practice overvote in a practice, right?
during the LNA,
Yeah.
This will significantly increase the size of the deck, as it's called, which is the ballots that are voted for the LNA test. It's gonna be a lot more work.
so it's, during the odd years when we have the districts, it'll be a very large, matrix. So this is just reflecting that change that,
Sure.
from this point on, we'll have a write-in, in our test deck for every race during the LNA and a vote for every race / measure.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. And, one little thing I just added, that the canvassing board meetings are happening here in the elections office. Just so people are reading our canvassing board report, they know that this is where we meet, and that's on page 7. So I just wanted to add that in there, to say, hey, this is where we meet. So those are the WACs that have changed, that have been adopted, that we need to adopt in our canvassing board rules. There are other WACs that have changed and that are coming up in the future that we will need to adopt before reviewing the primary that will happen this July.
They're preparing wax now for the 17-year-olds voting in the primary, right?
Yes, so there's did I bring that one out?
That it will be permitted for people who will be 18 by the time of the general, but are still 17 at the time of the primary to vote in the primary election. But
Now-
only on the races that are on the general. So if there are races that are only in the primary, like a measure, then they can't vote. That's also going to add a level of complexity.
It's also going to add an additional ballot too. So the 17-year-olds are the what do they call, the primary only voters? That is going to be their title legally. So when we're preparing a ballot where there is a candidate in the primary that's going to be in the general, they will get their own special ballot. Still deciding whether or not to put it on, a different colored paper so it stands out. And then there's still discussion. The WACs haven't been fully adopted yet, but there's still discussion. What if, the kid votes the parent's ballot, vice versa? So there's things that are still happening. But these are ballots that may possibly be reviewed by the canvassing board. So we'll need to adopt these WACs in our rules come the
So at
primary.
another meeting this year, we'll be addressing wax again.
All right.
And the other WACs that were changed that affect our canvassing board manual, and that
So we've
basically,
seen all the changes that are being made. Any
Yes.
questions or discussion about those?
No, I was wondering if the observers have any questions or comments about our manual or anything, the operations here?
I've never read the whole manual, so I'm curious to know what other
Yeah, we can
things
send
it
you a copy of
says.
it.
yeah, I'll email it to you. It's just on, a list of the WACs and RCWs that truly affect the canvassing board and the elections, but not like every, RCW and every WAC, but just specific to the canvassing board. But I can email it to you.
Would you like a copy as well, Warren?
No,
Okay,
By and large,
yes.
okay, we'll do that.
by and large, the WACs, the manual is consistent with the WACs, if that's the intention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost word for word the same. There are a couple places where there's discretion granted to the auditor or to the election supervisor and so on that are unique to the county.
Mhm.
And those points can be found in the manual.
So I will get those updated this afternoon, and then the canvassing board could sign it and adopt it tomorrow
Great.
after certification.
Thank you.
So that concludes everything that we have for today, and tomorrow morning, 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's make sure YouTube's working before me.
Yeah, that's a discussion for
Can
IT.
you officially adjourn us?
Yes, it is 9:38.
Recess till tomorrow, right? 'Cause that's
Well,
officially,
we
recess till tomorrow.
We start a new meeting tomorrow. That's the way we advertise it. Don't we advertise those 2 meetings?
We do, but it's very convenient.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, thank you all.
Great,
Yep,
Thanks, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
thanks, Tom. Thanks, Randy.
Do you have one, Gina?
I know everything about Warren. We go way back.
Oh, okay.
So no new business will be brought up.
No.
No.
We just